Hey, what's up? This is Sports Truth. I'm your host, Jordan Harris. So, today we've got some things to talk about. I'm talking to all the Miami Hurricanes fans out there. So, I'm really big on making this a community where we talk about all kinds of different things. We are able to post our comments in the comment section. I read through those. I'm very responsive in the comment section. We able to banter back and forth if we want to. I'm all cool with that. Um, but there's sometimes I get comments in these comment sections that I'm like, I think I need to do a video just to explain how crazy this thought process is. So it wasn't just in my comment section of the videos that I've posted previously, but I've looked at other Miami fans or other Miami podcasts, whatever it may be, and I've been looking at the comment sections in there. And one of the things I keep seeing is this mentality that Mario Cristobal, like his seat should be warming up right now. Like people are saying, like we should be grilling Mario Cristobal. He needs to be on the chopping block. Like forget the TVD issues. Let's talk about Mario Cristobal. So I was like, all right. Since some people out there think that Mario Cristobal should be on the hot seat, I figured I have to make a video to discuss why that is nonsense, crazy, crazy town, nearly stupidity. All right, so we'll get into that. First, I want to say we are climbing to 1,000 subscribers. Please help us meet that goal. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. So let's get into it real quick. Okay, so some of the reasons why people are talking about why Mario Cristobal should be on the chopping block, why we should be going for his neck right now is one, the Georgia Tech game. Like, let's be honest, that was terrible. That was horrible. The worst Miami loss I've ever seen. Maybe, I don't know, that 2002 loss to Ohio State, that was horrible. So that was probably the worst. But this Georgia Tech game is probably the second worst loss that I've ever seen Miami take. Um, so that Georgia Tech game, that's one of the reasons why people want to see him go, or not go, but one of the reasons why they think that his seat should be warming up. The other reason is because it's all related to Tyler Van Dyke. So they think that, or they're saying that Mario Cristobal chooses the starter. So they're like, Tyler Van Dyke is in there just tricking it off, playing terribly. And they're like, if the coach keeps this bad quarterback in the game, then maybe it's not the quarterback's fault. Maybe it's the coach's fault. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. The other thing is they're saying that Mario Cristobal controls the offensive coordinator's play calling, which I'm not in there. I don't, I'm not in their practices. I'm not in their meetings. I don't know that. Just like the people who are making these comments don't know that. So those are the reasons why people are saying that Mario Cristobal's seat should be warming up. So now let's get into a section where I'm just going to go through and explain why that is crazy town. I don't want to say stupid because that's just talking bad about folks. I don't want to call anybody stupid, but the reason why it makes no sense, okay? So the first thing is I don't think these people who are saying that Mario Cristobal should be on the hot seat or potentially fired, I don't think they understand what a buyout looks like. I don't think they understand what a buyout is. So real quick, give you a quick example. If you sign me to $10 million deal over 10 years, for easy math, and I work for 2 of those years, and then you fire me, if that contract was guaranteed, then you have to pay me the rest of that contract, which would be $8 million. Okay? So now you've got to pay me $1 million every year for the next 8 years if you stretch it out like that. That doesn't matter if you bring in another coach. If you have no coaches on your staff, you just want to go ahead and just let the players run the whole system or whatever themselves, you still got to pay me my $1 million every year for 8 years. If you bring on another coach and you decide to pay them $10 million a year, then you're going to pay that coach $10 million a year, but you still got to run me my $1 million every year. So now you're going to pay $11 million a year. So that is how the buyout works. So if you don't know, Mario Cristobal, he signed a deal that's about $80 million over 10 years. It's the richest contract ever for a Miami Hurricanes coach. So if you were to fire him after his second year, you're going to have plenty of money. Now I don't know if his whole contract is guaranteed. I don't know that, but I'm guessing most of it probably is. And if you fire him after his second year, you're gonna have to pay a whole lot of money to him for the next few years, for these next 8 years. And can you imagine if they struggled paying coaches before? If they were paying coaches little before, do you think they're willing to bring in another big name coach while still paying Mario Cristobal all the money that they owed him? It's not realistic. So that is the first reason why considering firing Mario Cristobal in his second year is just nonsensical. Okay, so the other thing is, like, I don't know if people remember, maybe not, because people are already jumping off the bandwagon, which is crazy. But the main reason why all of this stuff got into motion like it did is Kirk Herbstreit a couple years ago, which I'm a big fan of Kirk Herbstreit. A couple years ago, he mentioned how Miami was losing, and at that time, I think Florida State had only won like one game. I think they were like 1-3, and we were like 2-2 maybe. I don't know. Both teams were terrible. Florida State and Miami were playing bad football at that time. But he pointed at the fact that Miami was not investing in its program enough. And he talked about the stadium. He talked about the coaches and everything. He just like, they're not spending enough money where they need to. So that is part of what got this Mario Cristobal train rolling, because the AD got word of it. People started losing their jobs because people started looking around like, well, yeah, the fan base is upset because y'all not bringing the right people in to coach these kids. So then we ended up hiring Mario Cristobal. Miami has been cheap for many years before this. Kirk Herbstreit put that out there, and people saw that, and things started changing. Manny Diaz was making about $3 million a year. When he got fired, he was still on the books. He had to be paid out for 2022 and 2023. About, I think it was like $6 or $7 million is what he was owed for those 2 years combined. So they're paying Mario Cristobal the richest salary they've ever paid before. Plus they are paying the money that they had to pay Manny Diaz. So now instead of just paying $8 million a year, which is a crazy rich contract to Miami University, to the University of Miami, they're not just paying this $8 million, but now they're paying 8 plus the 3 from Manny Diaz. So now you've got $11 million. So if there's $11 million there, and then Manny Diaz comes off the books this year, so next year they're going to be scheduled to pay $8 million again to Mario Cristobal. If they fire Mario Cristobal and they're still responsible for paying the richest contract that they've ever done before, who do you think they would bring in to coach this team? Like, you think they would really bring in somebody like Nick Saban, who's going to demand $10 million a year? So now you're paying Nick Saban 10, and you're also paying Cristobal 8. So now you want to pay $18 million a year? It's not realistic. If you do fire Cristobal, you're going to end up bringing in somebody who's willing to coach this football team for $500,000, which is probably somebody who's, I don't know, somebody who's been down on their luck and they don't even deserve a chance to coach a football team, but they'll take the job just to get their name out there. It would have to be a crazy hire that be somebody that no one's ever heard of. The recruiting would plummet. There's no way they're going to fire Cristobal with $8 million a year, pay him, and then bring on somebody else that's even has a recognizable name. Not realistic. So that's the second reason why it's just nonsensical. Next thing is, why don't we just sit here real quick and play a game, and let's just build the perfect Miami football coach. And this is something that I was doing a couple years ago, 3 years ago, before we hired Cristobal. So, and I'm sure you are probably doing the same thing if you're a football fan of Miami. So let's build in our minds the perfect Miami football head coach. And let's say this person probably needs to be a Miami alumni, right? He needs to be a Miami alumnus, somebody who's graduated from there. It would be even better if that person played football at Miami, which, shockingly enough, Cristobal's done that. It would be even cooler if the person was from Miami, like actually grew up in Miami, which Cristobal actually did. It'd be pretty cool if this person had championship pedigree. So if they actually played for Miami and they won a championship at Miami, that would be crazy cool if all of those things were in play. And then let's say if this same person had coaching pedigree, championship pedigree as a coach, which actually Cristobal does because he was at Alabama when they won their championship, I think in 2015. He was the lead assistant coach there. Let's say if this person also had the ability to recruit the state of Florida, which probably has the most football talent in the nation, which when Cristobal was at Alabama, he recruited the heck out of Florida. So, yes, he checks that box too. Okay? So, let's say this person has the ability to recruit 4 and 5 star recruits. Let's just be honest, man. Like, recruiting is the name of the game in college football. If you can get some high quality athletes to run up and down the field, 5 stars here, 4 stars there, like Alabama's been doing for these last few years, you're going to win a whole lot of football games. And I know a lot of people say you don't need all that talent to win. You need better X's and O's. What I would say to that is, did you not watch the TCU versus Georgia game? I'll sit here for a little bit and just stew on this with you. Did you not watch that football game? Because when I looked at it, I saw a talent gap. That's as far as where I'm sitting here in Kansas all the way to Florida. That big of a gap as far as talent goes. So I watched that game, and the talent was so far apart, it was ridiculous. And the scoreboard reflected that. So if you're able to get 4 and 5 star recruits in the door, you're going to win some football games, more than you lose for sure. Okay, so let's say this coach also has a high level of head coaching experience. So not just head coaching high school, not just head coaching in Pee Wee League football, but they actually have head coaching experience college football, right? Division I football is even better. So again, Cristobal, Alabama under Nick Saban, which I believe is the greatest coach of all time. So he had years coaching with him. He's got a national championship under his belt coaching at Alabama. He also led Oregon to 3 Pac-12 championship games in a row. So he did that, and he won 2 of those championship games. So that's a really good experience for somebody to have. What else would the perfect Miami head coach candidate have? Let's see, maybe recruiting. Let's talk about that because I think Mario Cristobal does that pretty well. Wouldn't you agree? So 24/7 Sports, this is one of the links that I went to just to get some more information there. So he was the National Recruiter of the Year. He ended up winning that. He's had top 15 class. He's done that 8 years in a row. He had the top Pac-12 recruiting class for the years 2019, 2020, and 2021 when he was at Oregon. 7th recruiting class last year, his first year at Miami, and then the 11th recruiting class right now for 2024. I'm certain by the time that this whole class, once it all forms, I bet you will end up being 7th or 8th, something like that, because there's still some kids in Florida making decisions. So he's 11th right now in the 2024 rankings. By the time it's finished, he'll probably be 7th or 8th. Okay? So, again, the reasons why it's crazy to think that he needs to be considered fired after this year is the buyout. That's one. The second thing is Miami's been cheap, so who else you going to get? Okay? Number 3, if you built the perfect Miami coaching candidate, it's Mario Cristobal. He has all checks. Like if you do 10 checks, he would have all 10 of them. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. He's building a program. He's not just building a team. He's building a program. You can't just bring in one really good recruiting class and think they're going to light up the board that next year. Instead, you got to do like what Alabama's been doing, where you bring in 7 or 8 really good classes in a row. That's how you build depth. That's how you build, instead of having 2 good linebackers and 1 outside linebacker who's kind of iffy, or if the 4 defensive linemen that you have playing, if one of them gets tired and then you sub him out, then you don't even have to worry about this guy because he's pretty terrible. Like, we don't want that. You have to build a program where you get multiple classes in a row that's going to make some changes. And I believe that's what he's doing. Um, the last thing I want to say is let's not forget the thing that confuses me so much about this is I feel like people are forgetting how bad it can get and how bad it has been before as far as our coaches go. So I'm gonna throw some names out there real quick. So Randy Shannon, which actually I liked Randy Shannon quite a bit. The Orange Tie, that's all I call him. Y'all know who the Orange Tie is. I'm not even gonna say my man. I'm not even gonna say the man's name, but the Orange Tie. Let's not forget how bad that was. Remember the Clemson game that ended up getting him out the door? That was pretty bad. Mark Richt, I actually liked Mark Richt, but he ended up deciding he was done. He said he was finished. Manny Diaz, I thought he would do better than he did, but that team that was rough. That was a rough tenure. So let's not forget how bad it can get. Um, this might be a little heavy for some people, but I'm a Christian dude, and this saying that I've always heard and I've always followed is never doubt in the dark what God told you in the light. So whenever we all heard this news about Manny, about I keep saying Manny, Lord forgive me, we were all excited about the Cristobal hiring. We're all jumping up and down when he got hired. Now that things are a little rocky, everybody's like, nope, 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 I'm done with it. I'm done with it. Like, come on now. Like, if we were excited then, like we gotta continue to be excited, man. Not you can't just throw something away because it looks a little dim at some point. Like you gotta relax a little bit. That's what I really want to say to everybody. It's the same thing that my man Aaron Rodgers said. RELAX. Relax. We have a really good coach. It's a coach that a whole lot of people would love to have across the nation. A whole lot of coaches would love to have Cristobal as a coach. So relax, everybody. Take a breather. This whole Tyler Van Dyke thing has people's heads spinning right now. The quarterback is not playing up to what we hoped he would play, but let's not just start throwing what they say, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, let's not do that. Relax. Well, go ahead. Hopefully we make a change at quarterback against Florida State, and we'll see what happens from there. But yeah, that's all that I've got for you today. I wanted to just do this video, explain why it makes no sense to be talking about firing Cristobal. It makes no sense. But yeah, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend or two. Again, we're climbing towards 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so help us reach that by subscribing, telling your friends, liking the video. I appreciate your time. As always, God bless. Take care. Peace.